atmosphere like down here in North Dakota?
It's something different.
Snaps, fakes it, looks to his left, throws it. 24, wide open, downfield, nothing but net. It's a touchdown for the North DeSoto Griffin.
All right, I want to welcome everybody back to the Griffin Plus podcast, second episode. We appreciate y'all listening to the first one. Coach, big win over the rival Northwood on Friday night, followed up a big win from a previous week against West Monroe. What are your overall thoughts just on last week's game?
Man, what a 2-week schedule, huh?
Gauntlet, yeah. Who comes up with that schedule?
To be on the road 2 straight weeks against 2 incredibly good football teams, and to be able to win in both of those venues was just a tremendous feeling. You know, coming off the West Monroe win, we knew it was a big win there. I mean, I think you can probably count on one hand the number of losses they've had at that venue in the last 25 years, 30 years, and then to come back and to respond with a statement win like this last week in another hostile environment against, as you said, rival Northwood, to go up there and win in the fashion that we did was truly a statement for this football team and what they're accomplishing so far this season.
What do you think? It was a close game in the third. It got kind of hairy there, 24-20. But what do you think? What do you think the turning point of the game was, or do you think there was one? Or
well, look, I mean, Northwood is a good football team, and we said last week they had scored 172 points in 3 games, and we knew going in it was going to be a dogfight for a while, and it was. It's 24-20, and they have the ball, and I think the big stop on that drive was huge, forcing them into a punt, and then it was a very short punt. I think he kind of bobbled the snap. Mm-hmm. Short punt gives us a short field, and then we go up at that point 31-20, and I felt like at that point we may have taken control of the game. But for us to get that stop at that point when they got the ball back 24-20, had they taken the ball and driven the length of the field there, they go up again, and it's a whale of a game. And it was anyway. I mean, it was just a tremendous and hats off to Northwood for the way they played. We knew their kids would play hard, and for us to be able to go up there in that environment and win in the fashion that we won, it was just very satisfying.
Yeah, I think it was the biggest Northwood crowd we've ever played in front of.
Yeah,
they packed the stands.
Both sides, and Stonewall showed up. Just tremendous high school environment, which we knew it would be. Both teams 3-0. Again, throw the records out in that game, but a well-coached Northwood team, always going to play hard, played tremendously hard on defense, and I thought their offensive game plan was good, kept us off balance at times, and our defense was bend but don't break, but made some big plays, especially there midway through the third quarter on, and then in the fourth quarter. And man, what about Jonathan Perry and the late touchdown by that guy, and what a game that sophomore had in the defensive line.
I've never seen Coach Richard move like that. He was jumping up and down and high-fiving anybody he could find. He was fired up.
He was so. But we knew that Jonathan Perry had that kind of potential. Started as a freshman for us last year in the offensive line, and he moved over to defensive line. It's just a matter of time before that guy becomes a dominant force up front. Him sitting there by freshman Daryl Thomas, who may be one of the best defensive linemen to ever come out of North Louisiana before he gets done. And that's saying a lot because there's been some great ones, but just a tremendous effort by our guys to finish that thing in the way that they finished and get the victory.
So you talked about 2 defensive guys and their studs. I love them both. Which player stood out to you on offense, and why is it Braylon Lattin?
Well, again, Braylon has just continued to answer the bell week in and week out. Everybody knows about Kenny Thomas. Everybody goes into the game to prepare for Kenny Thomas, to stop Kenny Thomas. And defenses are actually setting their defenses to stop Kenny, bringing safeties in the box to load the box to try to stop Kenny. But they have not accounted for Braylon Lattin, who has had so far a whale of a season in 4 games. And you and I saw this coming in, the kind of offseason that Braylon had and the work he put in, the extra work he put in to get bigger, faster, stronger in the offseason. And it shows. I mean, just another outstanding performance by Braylon Lattin. And we've had this conversation. In any other offense, Braylon Lattin is the feature back.
Absolutely.
He just happens to be in the backfield with Kenny Thomas, and we're glad he's on our team, and certainly will be huge going forward as we continue this march.
Yeah, we're just blessed and spoiled. I think I said that yesterday at our meeting. Like, we're just spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know what we have. I don't think teams have figured out yet that this Latin kid, you better not relax when he's in the game, because he can hurt you as well, and he has, and he just follows the track so well. Again, our offensive line continues. I mean, it's an understatement now. Our offensive line is really good, and they continue to do a good job. So, one of the unsung heroes, I mentioned him this morning to the players, is a guy that has had, a career that we were really trying to figure out where he fit. And, to really have a guy like Zaire Young.
Yeah.
And we thought he was an offensive lineman, tried to force a square peg into a round hole to make him an offensive lineman. Miller was out with baseball all spring, so we put Zaire at pipe wrench, and he has an incredible spring. And for him to come into a game like that and have the kind of game blocking that he had was huge down the stretch as well. So there are guys like that all across our team that have fit into roles that maybe people don't hear about them. Their name isn't in headlines all the time, but, man, they're a huge factor in why we're 4-0 right now.
Absolutely. We were able to get into that 2 tight end look, or a sniffer and a tight end, because Zaire can hold his own out there.
100%. Zaire Young has just been a huge plus for us in the run game, no doubt.
Yeah. So this week, it's homecoming week. Not to take away from homecoming week, but it feels like sometimes it's a coach's worst nightmare. There's a lot going on. There's something every night. Can't take this opponent lightly, because last year it was a tough game at BTW. I think we won 20-14. So this year, again, not a bad opponent. They've been playing some great games, just squeaked out a win over Bossier, who's a very athletic team. What can you tell us this week about BTW?
Well, look, number one, Gary Cooper's the coach, and anytime Gary Cooper is coaching a football team, they're going to be prepared. They're going to play a wide open style of offense and exciting football. They're going to throw the ball all over the yard, and like you said, last year it was a heck of a game. I mean, it was a game that, in the fourth quarter, it's anybody's game, and this is one that we've had circled for some time, knowing that, last year I'm not sure we really were prepared mentally to go in there and play the kind of game BTW was going to give us. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think our guys understand who this is, what's at stake, and this isn't the same old BTW that would come in here a few years ago. This is a team that is respectable, and Gary Cooper and his staff continue to do a really, really fine job. They've got an outstanding quarterback, big, tall, strong guy that can throw the ball a mile, guys that can catch it. So definitely not a team that we in any way overlook in this, midway through our season. And just like we said last week, it's the next step, and it's a step that's important, and every one of them is important is in its own way, and BTW is the next step. So we're approaching it in that manner and understanding that if we don't have the mindset that we have to have going into this game, then it can be an interesting night.
Yeah, they got an all-star staff. Gary Cooper, former Grambling quarterback, Anthony Moss, running back at Airline, like one of the leading rushers, I think, there. Mike Green, who spent some time here, head coach at Mansfield. They've got some
it's an
dudes.
all-star staff. And look, Gary's back home. He played quarterback at BTW, so he's a homeboy. Come back home, and man, he's got that team playing with a lot of pride and passion. And again, it's not the same BTW that people may have faced 3 and 4, 5, 10 years ago. This is a really good BTW team.
Yeah, they're going to give us their best shot for sure. So if you had to pick one thing, Coach, if the Griffins do this, we'll come away with a victory. What do you think? I hate to put you on the spot.
Well, again, I think we have to control the line of scrimmage, which is what we've done, the first 4 weeks. And if we can run the football well, it opens throwing lanes, because when people have to load the box, much like Northwood did, they've got to put people in the box to stop the running game. And when they do that, I mean, you saw last week, and people who were there, we had guys running wide open. We missed some huge throws that really could have put Northwood away earlier if we would have made the catches. We had some drops, big drops in the game that were touchdowns. So we start catching some of those balls, we're going to be a dangerous offense. But establish the run game and be able to connect on some of those throws, I think makes us a really tough offense to stop.
I agree. The play that keeps replaying in my mind was Braylon Moore's catch on our sideline. He's starting to come into his own.
Outstanding catch. I mean, Braylon's upside is tremendous. I mean, and the thing you love about Braylon is his work ethic. Braylon wants to be better. He doesn't just work at practice. He stays late. He comes early. He's always catching the football, and it shows. His extra work has really shown. The progress he made in a year from his freshman to his sophomore year is just outstanding. For him to make that back shoulder catch, the other beautiful throw, by the way, by Luke. But the last guy we saw do some of that was a guy by the name of Cole Corey.
Absolutely.
And Braylon Moore, to be able to make those kinds of catches, he's got a chance to be really, really special going forward.
I agree. Coach, I'm not trying to cut you short, but I think we're going to let Coach James on in this next segment.
Well, Coach James has done an outstanding job. I compare Coach James to a guy that I worked with years ago at Evangel by the name of Ronnie Alexander. Same kind of passion. His defense has taken on that personality. Josh's personality. Justin's his daddy, by the way, and he's my good friend. But anyway, Josh, just great passion, and the defense plays with his personality, which I love. And man, for the plays they've made so far this year and the big turnovers, another defensive touchdown. I think we've had a defensive touchdown in every game.
Coach, I don't know. I feel like every Friday on the headset I say it's about time Hayden Bell scores here. And it's just like a given that Hayden Bell's going to find the
and
football
Hayden
and score.
he had his hands on the blocked field goal.
Coach, that's unreal.
And Braden stole it from him, Braden Thomas, and had it called back. But anyway, Jonathan Perry gets the touchdown this week.
Right.
We'll see who gets one next week.
Okay, now we have on Coach Joshua James, my good friend and coworker. Welcome, sir. And Coach Dunn just gave you like the greatest review. I want everybody to know that.
Really? I cannot wait to tune in and watch.
Yeah, you love when he does that.
I think you're baiting me into watching again.
Yeah, I am baiting
Like
you
you
into
did last
watching.
time.
Like, subscribe. Coach, let's start with this. What was your overall game plan, I guess, for Northwood? You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think just watching them on film, obviously a very explosive offense, averaging about 60-plus points a game. I think going into it, it was to not give up the big play. And, looking back at the film now, the drives that they scored on, we gave up big plays. Either didn't fit the right way or missed some tackles. But we really challenged our DBs going into it to not let anything get behind you because they have some real speed out there at receiver. And for the most part, they did that.
Yeah, bend, don't break. Yeah, I thought y'all played y'all's tails off, Coach. What do you think the turning point was? I mean, it has to be that, I'm guessing, the drive in the third quarter, right? Like, what do you think the turning point was?
Yeah, I go back to the second drive whenever we really had good field position and they're driving on us. We're giving up some big plays, and then we block a field goal, return it, and then it gets back for a penalty. But honestly, I thought that settled the kids in a little bit. And I mean, I know we didn't like pitch a shutout from there on out, but I thought the kids kind of took a deep breath, said, okay, hey, we just got to go out there and play our ball, let them kick a field goal, not let them score. I thought that was obviously a good turning point for us, but also in the third quarter, whenever the offense goes up and you got a 2-score lead, you're kind of making Northwood one-dimensional, and we kind of got to pin our ears back, rush 3, drop 8. Obviously, whenever you get to do that, it helps when you know what's coming.
So speak a little bit about your defensive line. I'm not going in order here because I just want to hear you talk about Perry and Adaro, Landonberry, those guys.
Yeah, man, I thought they got put through the test. West Monroe, obviously, going against an offensive line that's bigger, faster, stronger. And then, this week you look at Northwood, and they're not as large as West Monroe, but, man, did they get after it on the offensive line. I thought, they punched us in the mouth real early. And, again, you go back to that second drive, I think we started to settle down a little bit. There's a few, obviously a few snaps that we did not play with good pad level, and if we didn't, they got after us. So I was proud to see how they responded in the second half. I mean, I know we talk about player of the game was, for us, Jonathan Perry. He had, I think, 7 or 8 tackles, 2 sacks, and then obviously the interception/fumble scoop up for a touchdown.
Is that the greatest thing that could happen for a D lineman?
I think
pick six?
I think a pick six is the number one thing. And then whenever he caught the ball, Coach, there was nobody catching him.
Yeah, no. He
Honestly,
can go.
He needs to go get an eligible number.
Coach, I don't mean to brag, but we put him at running back a little bit when he was in 8th grade.
And I could see why.
I mean, he's a dude. Now, he does not hold the ball correctly at all.
You don't need
not
to.
even close.
If they're not going to catch you don't need to hold it.
Yeah, no,
that's what
good.
I always said. But, I mean, the other one, like a Daryl Thomas, didn't have the biggest stat night, but, I mean, that's a big sucker you got to block. And
right.
I think he's eating up double teams and triple teams. And then, if he just gives in a little bit and loses some pad level, he'll get moved a little bit. But whenever that big old kid decides he don't want to get blocked, he ain't getting blocked.
Yeah, Coach. He's a big old boy.
And then last one I want to talk about is, I mean, we know Barry out at D-line. He actually played the majority of the snaps at linebacker. So Andrew Arnder took probably 90% of the snaps at a spot that he had barely practiced that week. And I thought whenever he was in there, he gave us a great punch, some extra effort plays. So, I mean, we were – not a lot of people know this, but we had 2 starters out, one from the West Monroe week, and then we lost a safety that was playing outside linebacker in the second quarter. So
right.
we were just kind of making some – on-the-fly adjustments that game.
Yeah, and because of that, like, who would you say that is like the unsung hero, like a Arnder? Maybe there's a guy in the secondary that you want to highlight.
I think Keith Smith stepped up in a huge way. We knew that we were missing an inside linebacker, so we moved our outside linebacker to inside linebacker and then bumped the safety down. So the next man up was Keith Smith, and I thought the challenge for him was, hey, don't let the deep ball happen, and it didn't. I think it was a fairly slow night for him. He stepped up, made a few tackles when we needed them, but
was he the one that tipped the pass?
No, that was on the
fake punt.
That was Ethan Ivey. Yeah, and that was a very crucial spot of the game too. So, but that's what we expect out of a senior leader on the back end. But yeah, I'd say unsung hero was probably it could either go to Keith Smith or Landon Berry, who stepped down and played that outside linebacker spot.
I agree. So I want to hear your take on this. I didn't prepare you for this at all. I don't think I sent you this one. So here we go. So you're obviously a pretty fiery dude. You're a DC coach. So you got a rivalry game at Northwood, the biggest crowd Northwood's ever had, wouldn't you say? I think so.
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. They got their student section. They're chirping and doing the duck calls, which is whatever. How do you keep how do you motivate your defense and tell them hey, we're going to play like our hair's on fire, but at the same time, hey, when the whistle stops, if you could chill out a little bit. What's that balance like? What do you say?
Very, very thin line too. Yeah. But I will say one thing about this group is they want to win. A few questions that they asked me, some like Porter Dole, hey, what's the most amount of touchdowns our defense has given up throughout the years. You know, I don't have the exact stat for you there, but that mindset of, hey, I just want to be the best defense North DeSoto has ever seen, that helps you not have to fire those guys up between drives because they're just out there to compete. And I think we got 11 to 13 dudes on the defensive side of the ball that want to compete at all costs. And every practice, you know, for the most part, is the Super Bowl. Every drive could be the game-winning drive. But they just want to be good at what they do, and it's very fun to coach, you know, 11 to 13 kids like that.
Yeah, we always say Monday and Tuesdays are days where we don't, you know, you're a different coach, James. You know, it's the Super Bowl out there, right there at practice here in a little bit.
And I go into it some weeks saying I'm not going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
today.
we'd never believe that.
Like today, I'm going to go out there and have a very relaxed Monday practice.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Yeah,
right.
But that's what you have to do as a defensive coordinator.
No, I agree, and I'd rather beat y'all, you know, today than sometimes on Friday. It's just how it is. I hate to say that, but you know, you go against a very explosive offense that we do every day. We see some crazy stuff go down. We want to win. We want to win every practice like it's a Friday night game.
Yeah, Coach, and I'm going to be nice to you for just a second. I'm going to stop it after this because this is disgusting. But it shows on Friday nights, Coach, and that's the only compliment you're going to get.
Let's cut the pod down.
Cut it. It's over. Let me ask you this. I also didn't prepare you for this. Before we get into BTW, this game coming up against BTW, if you could pick one of our players to be on your fantasy football team, it's got to be on offense. You have to show us some love for a second. Who would that player be this week? Who do you think is going to show out?
That's a great question. I'm going to go with probably the most obvious.
Oh, that's boring, but go ahead.
I mean, you have to. I really think Kenny has an unreal week this week. I think he's just been battle tested the first 4 weeks. And, you know, I think Lattin's picked up a lot of slack. I think he has a breakout week this week. Yep.
I hope you're right. All right, so moving forward to BTW, me and Coach Dunn talked about it. Like, this is a very well-coached BTW team. Gary Cooper, former Grambling quarterback. Running backs coach Anthony Moss was former Airline Vikings running back, like one of the best ever. What are you seeing from those guys on film, and what are you guys doing to prepare?
Man, it's really an explosive BTW offense. I mean, you go watch their last game against Bossier, and it's big play after big play after big play. They have two of the best receivers that I think that I've seen on film this year. I believe number 6 and number 7. I don't know their names, but I know if they get the ball in open space and you miss one tackle, it's going to be a touchdown. So the emphasis this week defensively is, can you tackle their athletes in open space? Because if you can't, you're going to be in there for a long night. I don't think they're going to just sit back and try to run the ball right down your throat. That hadn't been their MO the past few weeks. If it is, I think we'd be prepared for it. But can we go out there, you know, drop 6 or 7 guys and tackle their athletes in space? That'll be the big question for us.
I agree. Kick and sling it. Coach, and if it's okay with you, we're going to get Coach Parker, our offensive coordinator, our play caller, on here after you.
I don't really know why you'd follow me up with him, but hey, I respect it.
I'll get in his head a little bit.
On.
Yeah. All right, we now welcome on the one and only Coach Matthew Keith Parker, our offensive coordinator here at North DeSoto. Coach, thanks for coming on. We just had Coach James on. He did a great job, so no pressure. I wanted to start off with saying, great job. You called a great game, man. And that's the only compliment you'll get from me the rest of the time.
Well, I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you.
You're welcome. All right, so offensive game plan going into the week. What do you think some of the strengths are from the Northwood defense, and what was our game plan kind of going into it?
Well, we knew they were super physical in the box just from playing them in the past. And anytime you're playing a Austin Brown coach team, you know kind of what you're getting yourself into, which is a 4-quarter war. I mean, they're going to be super sound. Their defensive ends are going to squeeze down when they get down blocks. Just all the stuff you see when you play a well-coached team is what you're going to get anytime you play somebody coached by Austin. And then, I mean, we knew how good they were on the back end, and I think that proved to be true. You know, number 1 and number 7 for them at safety.
Really,
yeah, we kind of knew going in like we were going to have to be okay with 5-yard gains, 7-yard gains in the run game because they just kind of clean everything up. And you could see it on film when they played Peabody and when they played Mansfield, and I think that kind of held to be true as the night went along.
Yeah, I think sometimes we talked about it before, we get spoiled from Kenny and Lattin breaking these long runs.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we play a team, like you said, that's like sound, like they do the little things every single time. When a 4- and 5-yard run is
Right.
legit. That's what you want.
And we knew going in, center was kind of different than West Monroe and Northwood from the aspect they try to beat you with their aggression and try to beat you with their blitzes and stuff like that. And both West Monroe and Northwood, I think playing West Monroe before we played Northwood really helped us because they're very similar in the way that they're just going to sit there and play base defense and try to beat you with their technique, and they're good at it. And,
Very well coached.
Yep. And the difference between Northwood and West Monroe, though, we knew a challenge going in was that their safeties would clean stuff up. I mean, I think you saw it, in the West Monroe game, we hit some of those big 25-yard touchdown runs, 30-yard touchdown runs. And against Northwood, I think we only had one run that was, considered an explosive play, which was Lattin's that he ended up getting chased down by number 7, who's a really good athlete.
Yeah, two or three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, they presented a pretty big challenge in the fact that you just have to be okay with continuing to pick up, 7 yards, 8 yards, 5 yards here and there and getting good down the distances and take some shots at the end zone when you can.
So they were super disciplined, made it tough. I mean, on you, obviously, you had to stay disciplined, I guess, in your calling of the game. But what do you think? Was there any momentum shift or something you're like, okay, we're okay now? Because at one point in the third quarter, I legitimately forgot until after the game. I guess on the bus ride home, I was thinking about it. It was 24-20 in the third.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the final score and you're like, oh, North Soto dominated, but I mean, it was a closer game than the score looked.
Right. And we knew going in that there was a chance that in the run game we would need to add an extra hat. Yep. And we have a package right now where we throw our senior out there, Zaire Young, and he went out there and did a great job for us. And that, and when we realized, which we knew going in, there was a good chance that it was just going to be one of those ball games where you got to pick up 5 yards at a time in the run game. We're like, all right, let's put an extra hat down in there in the box and see what happens. And so I thought that was putting that package out there was really good. And then obviously being able to hit some of those shots we took. I said we knew that we were going to have to get in some pretty good downs and distances in order to take shots. And luckily early on we hit a couple of those. And that really helps. It kind of backs number 1 and number 7 up just one more step so that those gains now become 8 yards instead of 5 yards. And
right.
I thought that was big. And I'm super proud of our guys. It's been 2 weeks in a row where West Monroe was even worse as far as it got to 28-17 like that. Like we were rolling, and then all of a sudden we weren't. And then Northwood closed it down in the third quarter. We got stopped twice in a row, had to punt, and they responded and really answered for the rest of the game and punched it in the end zone a couple of times to put it away.
So you talked about Zaire. Coach Dunn talked about Zaire too, having a senior where we stuck him, which is crazy to think about. He was an O lineman.
Right.
He was a center.
Yeah.
And then he was, our 6th lineman at one point. Now he's our H-back, sniffer, tight end that can really go in and hold his own. He talked about him being kind of like an unsung hero. Other than Zaire, was there anybody else that may not show up on the stat sheet? I mean, obviously, I messed with Coach Dunn about it. I said, who's your unsung hero and why is it Braylon Lattin?
Yeah.
Obviously, Lattin had 161 yards and a few touchdowns. He killed it, and everybody sees that. Was there anybody that, no one may see?
Well, I mean, you say that it doesn't fill up the stat sheet. This guy shows up in the stat sheet, but one of them out wide is Braylon Moore and how much better he's getting and taking some of those 5-yard hitches and turn them into big plays for us has been huge. And he's probably been our most consistent as far as hitting a big play down the field so far. So, and, just a little, like I said, I think the thing that's not seen in the stat sheet is just catching the 5-yard routes and turn them into 12-yard gains and 13-yard gains. The other one, and the whole O-line, I mean, we talk about them all the time in our coaches' meetings, but they're playing outstanding. And Nathan Dubrock, our senior right tackle, is playing really, really well. And he's making it pretty easy as far as calling plays go. When we need something right now, he can go get it. So
he's an animal. Yeah. I think of, obviously running backs coach, so I think of Lattin, but also Brady Floyd, first-year starter.
Absolutely.
Sitting here and not saying he's a weakness in our meetings is as much of a compliment as being he's a dog.
Right. Yeah. And, we talked about it yesterday, and, I'm sure Brady won't mind me telling this story, but we kind of went into the spring thinking it was a 2-horse race for our left tackle spot, and Brady was not one of those 2 horses, and he just showed up every day in spring ball, every day over the summer, and we were just at the end of it, we were like, man, he hadn't done anything to lose a spot, and he's a program kid. He does everything we ask him to do. And, he's been phenomenal and done a really good job at left tackle.
So, I mean, I'm a part of the offensive halftime, but at halftime, what were your thoughts? Like, what are you telling the offense? What are you telling the other offensive coaches? Do you want to anything you want to touch on in that?
No, I mean, I think just preaching that, 5 yards in the run game. Like you said, we're spoiled a lot of times because of how good Kenny and Latin are as far as breaking through the third level and scoring. Right. But, just especially with those two, telling them, like, guys, y'all are doing a great job. You're doing everything you're coached to do. Just keep pressing up in there, picking up 5 or 6, and then eventually one's going to break. And literally, because number 1 and number 7 were so good, only one of them did break. But they did a great job of just putting their head down, going and picking up, those mid yardage gains for us.
Yeah, I was super proud of both of their discipline in that and just being like, okay, coach called this again. We're going to go do the same thing. Right. Be disciplined and go get 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a rivalry game. Always emotional. I'm trying to hurry it up. I talked about with Coach James, like he gets so fiery. I mean, he's not going to listen this far into the podcast. He gets so fiery, and we're about to fight him out there on the field. Like the offensive staff and defensive staff, we probably won't talk to Coach James after practice because he just gets so fired up. But so he gets his kids all riled up, rivalry game, and then they got to stop when the whistle blows. Mm-hmm. On offense, how are you getting, other than it being a rivalry week, how are you getting them psyched up? You think, how are you challenging them? And then also, how are you keeping them level-headed, I guess, throughout the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Dunn touched on this a lot throughout the week when he talked to the media and stuff, but I think we were very fortunate that it was Northwood week after we beat West Monroe because it was such an emotional win, and it's not really hard to get our guys back fired up or realize the challenge that's before them when you're talking about Northwood. And, I think being able to show them last year's game, and we got off to a really hot start, got up 21-0 in last season, and then they kind of shut us down for a little while.
Yeah.
And we had some turnovers and stuff like that, and being able to show them, like, guys, it's not, we ended up winning that game 38-21 last year, but it's not like you just absolutely dominated them.
Right.
Like, this is going to be just as much, if not more, of a challenge as West Monroe was.
Yeah.
And I think they saw that. We have a very mature film room. I go to film with the O-line and running backs, basically the run game guys. And I think that it was really easy to show them, like, this is not just somebody you can show up and beat. You're going to have to play one of your best games that you've ever played to beat them.
Absolutely. All right, so watch me transition. Speaking of teams you can't just show up and beat, for sure.
Right.
BTW, last year we played them at BTW after, we got our teeth kicked in versus West Monroe. I think it was 63-14 last year. Mm-hmm. And then we go and beat Northwood, and we are flying high. We're like, we're okay. Everything's going to be okay. We figured it out as a staff and as a team, whatever. Then we go to BTW, and we struggle. Mm-hmm. It was a defensive game. Two offensive coaches, I'll admit to that. I think you would too. Like 2014 is a defensive football game.
Absolutely, yeah.
We would move the ball, penalty on us, whatever. Like we were kind of kicking ourselves in the foot, but they were a good physical, fast football team. This year, there are a lot of similarities from last year. On offense, I've watched a little bit. They like to sling it around. Mm-hmm. They're aggressive on defense. They've got a great staff. What are you looking for this week? Like, what are you telling the guys? What do you see in BTW?
Well, the first thing you notice is number 33's back, and he plays. They kind of right now are a 3-3 sack defense, and he kind of plays that middle spot. And when teams do that, a lot of times what they're trying to do is free that guy up because he's their best player, and it's pretty apparent on film that he flies around and makes plays in the run game. I think I have a lot of respect for him. He played last year at inside backer, made a bunch of plays against us, so that's something we have to look out for. The other thing, when you watch BTW on film, there's kind of two different trains of thought when you're playing a 3-3 team, and one of them is like people do it to try to confuse you, and they may not be gap sound, they're just blitzing a bunch of people. And then there's the 3-3 stack teams that are super assignment football, and they understand what gap they're responsible for, and that's the category BTW falls under. And I think they do a very good job of, their ends will crash the B gap. They have a C gap fitter right there ready to make the play when that happens. And they're well coached. You can see that, and last year watching them, like I thought Coach Cooper had a really good game plan in his defensive staff for the stuff we had done the week before. And I don't think we did a very good job adjusting in game to it. And then, so that's something to look forward. We got to be able to make those in-game adjustments because you never know what you're going to get. Could be, a front that we've never seen before or something like that. So that's something, I recognize how gap sound they are and how well coached they are and how they're flying around, especially, in the secondary. They have a returning starter, number 15, who's a super good ball hawking type of safety. So it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to be physical and, start a lot faster than we did last year and try to get some of that momentum going.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. They're well coached. I've already said it like 3 times on here, but they've got a great staff. They got great athletes, and it being homecoming week has its own problems.
Right, yeah.
For our kids.
Plenty of chances to be distracted, for sure.
Yeah. There's something every night, something other than, recovering or homework going on.
Right.
Obviously, it's a different week. So, Coach, if you don't have anything to add,
no,
you're good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that jazz. We'll see you next week. No, we'll see you in Griffin Stadium Friday night.
Looks for number 7. Beautiful pass. He was triple covered.
What's that atmosphere like down here in North Dakota?
It's something different.
Snaps. Fakes it. Looks to his left. Throws it. 24. Wide open. Downfield. Nothing but net. It's a touchdown for the North DeSoto Griffin.